And welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, a whole food, plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm here with Dan, an exercise specialist and a wonderful master herbalist. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing, bringing you a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. And for today's subject, I want to make sure that we give our medical disclaimer. I forget to do that sometimes, but this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. We're not providing medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to supplements, medications, and lifestyle, especially if you have a medical condition or are pregnant or nursing. So everything that we're talking about today is about physiology and emerging research. We are not your personal coaches. You don't work with us one-on-one unless you do. And if you do, we'll talk. And so we're not telling you exactly what to do. We're just giving you information so that you can do your own due diligence and find out more from there. So most people think of vitamin D as a bone vitamin. I need vitamin D for my bones. Sometimes for immune issues, like when the pandemic came out, there was a lot of research that people were posting, maybe not research, but recommendations saying that you needed X amount of vitamin D as your first line defense if you had that illness. But emerging research is showing that there's even more to it, that it can help the body decide whether extra calories get stored as fat or are used to support the muscles.
Yeah, this is very interesting. This is new research. So they're saying now that if you're having trouble losing weight, you should get your vitamin D levels checked. It's actually some of the new.
Yeah, yeah. And, I always recommend that people get vitamin D checked anyway. The School of Natural Healing, we never talked about blood work because that's not a part of natural healing. But in my world, in the functional medicine world, we do a lot. We do blood testing. I love blood testing. I like to see the numbers. I like to know what's going on in the body. Of course, step back a second. My history is with autoimmune disease. Most of my clients have autoimmune disease or another chronic condition. And so they've already had a diagnosis. Let's see where they are. Let's make changes and then let's see what happens. Because if we're not tracking the numbers, we don't really know what's going on other than, weight changes and energy levels and pain levels and stuff like that. So I do like to see the numbers. And vitamin D is definitely one that I like people to check in the summer and in the winter because so I live right there at I-20 level with Atlanta. And the theory is if you live north of the line where Atlanta is, then you definitely need to supplement with vitamin D probably year round. If you live at that level or south, then you need to supplement at least in the winter time. But I still recommend people get it checked in the summer and in the winter. For me, the first time I had it checked, it was 8, which is miserable. That's very, very low. And very low vitamin D levels are, like we said in the beginning, it's related to bone loss, but it's also related to chronic health conditions, cancer, autoimmune disease, and stuff like that. So it's very, very important that you get your vitamin D levels checked. But I'm just fascinated in this new research. For first of all, vitamin D, we call it vitamin D, but it's really more like a hormone than it is a vitamin. First off, because it does a lot of signaling in the body. And so Dan shared this research with me, and I'm just fascinated. I want to know more about this. And I know I share with my clients. I have several clients who have problems with weight and weight loss. And when we talk about that, we've learned calories in, calories out. You eat less, exercise more. And that doesn't work for everybody. And first, it's so ingrained in their brains that they can't eat more. They're just so scared of eating more. And it's more than that. So vitamin D helps the body decide, do I need to hang on to this? Do we need to keep these calories? Are we going to need them later? or can we use them elsewhere? So let's talk more about this. I started calling you vitamin D. Dan, let's talk about this.
That's a good nickname.
Vitamin D, D for
Yeah.
Dan.
Um, yeah, this is very interesting. So the latest research is showing that your vitamin D levels depend on how much fat you can lose and how much muscle you hold on to because there's a thing called myostatin. And I know about this because I've always been into bodybuilding, but they claim some people produce less myostatin, and if they produce less, they're able to build more muscle. And so now they're finding that your vitamin D levels depend on how much myostatin your body retains and holds on to. This is, well, they call it myostatin as the body's muscle brake system. So if you have a lot, you can't build as much muscle.
Right. And so this is, I know we test myostatin in blood work sometimes, only in certain conditions. And so I'll look that up in just a second. But I was thinking that it was related to heart health as well. And so I'm wondering about that
I
because
bet it is.
the heart is your background as well. But myostatin is a signaling protein. So we talk about proteins in the body. And so we need amino acids. We eat protein. Protein's broken down into amino acids. Doesn't matter what form of protein you're eating, it's broken down into amino acids that are reformulated into different proteins that our body uses. If you eat a steak, you're not using that protein from the steak to make your myostatin. It's broken down into amino acids to form these things. And so that's why we don't eat animal products. We eat the greens because they're easier on our body to break down. All right, that was a side note. So myostatin is a signaling protein and it is produced in the muscles, and its job is to limit muscle growth so your muscles don't grow excessively large. And so I also thought that was fascinating as well because we have well, you came from the bodybuilding world. I've always been obsessed with the bodybuilding world. I've never been able to work out that hard. And when it gets to um uh I wanted to say sculpting. What is it? The last phase where you're technically starving yourself to reveal the muscle that's underneath. I could never do that.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Leaning, they call it leaning out.
Right.
In
Yeah.
fact, they're trying to, as far as myostatin goes, and in the leaning out phase, is you have to balance yourself to where you retain more muscle as you lose fat. If you do it the wrong way, you actually lose muscle too.
Kind of breaks down
So
because of the myostatin,
yeah,
probably.
uh-huh.
Yeah. And so it works. So the myostatin binds to receptors on the muscle cells. And then it activates pathways that reduce protein synthesis. So it won't let those proteins form together. It increases protein breakdown or I can't say it. What is it called when it's breaking catabolism? Catabolism.
Metabolism.
Yes, it increases that. And then it also suppresses muscle stem cell activity. And so we can see how myostatin could really be an issue.
Yeah, I saw they're trying to come up with a drug that blocks myostatin. I don't know if that'd be
Of
good or
course.
not.
Yeah.
But so and like I was saying a minute ago, there are certain people and animals that have non-functional myostatin, and so they develop really large muscles and lower body fat. So, and of course, the problem with myostatin arises with age, like a lot of things do, unfortunately.
Right. Right. Yeah, and so that's what I was just looking up to see how it's related to the heart. So it acts as a brake on cardiomyocyte hypertrophy, which prevents pathological enlargement of the heart. So that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
But in heart failure, elevated cardiac myostatin circulates systemically. So that accelerates that muscle wasting. And so you see that in elderly people when they're starting to have heart issues, they do start losing that muscle tone,
Mhm.
which, unfortunately, that's a really tough cycle to be in. If you're having heart issues, your muscles are breaking down, That's going to be weakening your muscles, weakening your bones, which is also going to be weakening your heart. And so then you're in this vicious cycle downward, right? But
Yeah.
also, excuse me, higher myostatin promotes cardiac fibrosis and dysfunction. And so
Ah, so
it's definitely something that we need to get a handle on.
yeah, it seems like you want just the right levels, not too much, not too little.
Yeah, yeah. And so tell us about how vitamin D is related to myostatin.
Well, it's talking about vitamin D may help suppress myostatin expression, especially in people who are deficient. So they're saying that if you are low in vitamin D, your myostatin levels are going to be lower. If your vitamin D levels are more ideal, your myostatin should be at a healthy level, so not too much and not too little. Because it's not like a drug. I mean, vitamin D is something the body has to have, so it should be able to regulate it in a more, sustainable way instead of taking a drug like they're talking about creating. I would never take something like that
Right,
because that's how you screw your health up.
right. That just throws off the balance.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the myostatin's going up. So if I'm taking, well, the same thing with a statin for our heart. There's a, or high blood pressure. If I'm taking a medicine to lower high blood pressure, there's a reason why my body needs more blood pressure. It's having
Oh yeah.
trouble pumping the blood back up. So let's
Oh yeah.
not slow that down. The same thing, there's a reason why the myostatin's going up. And so maybe getting your vitamin D checked is the answer.
Very well it could be because I remember when I was in college for dietetics, I mean vitamin D was a hot topic. That was about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And it's been linked to so many health benefits and health problems if you don't have enough in your body.
right, right.
And it's a fat soluble vitamin. So they're showing that if you have higher body fat, you have to take more vitamin D to get the same level as somebody who is leaner,
Ooh,
which
that's
is
a
interesting.
yeah, that is interesting. Yes. So if nothing else, go get your blood checked. Just go get your vitamin D checked, just to see your numbers, just so you know what your numbers are. You can ask your doctor. I think that you can even get order an Amazon on Amazon a vitamin D test. There are other
Yeah.
platforms you can like go to, even you can order direct from LabCorp now or Ultra Labs, any of those. Consumers can order their own vitamin D. And so get that checked. I think that is just that's so important. And especially, here in the US, we're in the middle of January. This goes out late January, I think. But it's still, we're in the middle of winter. Now is when we need to check it and see what is going on because you not only do you want to make sure you're not losing those muscles, there's so many reasons why you want to maintain that muscle. So not just for the bodybuilding world and not just for losing weight, but to protect your muscles. I can't tell you in blood work when I am meeting with clients how many people their blood work is showing muscle wasting.
Hmm.
That
And
and
that's this,
go ahead.
yeah. And that's one of the main reasons we start to age and start to get more decrepit. I mean, a lot of people they're in nursing homes because their muscles have wasted to such a degree they can't function.
Right, right. Yes. So
So
let's talk
go
about
ahead.
fixing the signal.
Okay.
So there is a hormone that we talk about in the endocrine world, which is leptin. So leptin is our appetite hormone. It's a signal of energy availability. It tells the brain whether the body is well fueled or if it needs more fuel. And so it tells us, like, so you're eating, you've had enough to eat. Leptin says, okay, we don't need to eat anymore. Most people that now actually have low leptin, they have leptin resistance. We hear about insulin resistance, but have you heard of leptin resistance? And so this is a signal where if you don't have it, then you don't feel full. And so maybe you're snacking all day, you're still hungry later. Well, there's two schools of thoughts there. One could be from Dr. Furman. Dr. Furman talks about nutrient density. And so it could be the food you're eating are not nutrient dense enough. You are in a nutrient insufficiency state. You're not meeting your nutrient needs. I think is the way that he would phrase that. And so your body is saying, hey, you need to keep eating because we're not meeting our needs. It could also be an absorption problem. Maybe you have leaky gut or something else going on in the body where you're eating the right foods, but you're just not absorbing the right foods. Maybe you don't have the right bacteria in your microbiome to break down those foods to get the nutrients you need. But research suggests that vitamin D can also help improve leptin. So it could be low leptin as well. And I'm not sure what all affects leptin, but I am very interested in this that vitamin D can help with leptin sensitivity.
Yeah, this could be a missing piece of the puzzle because I know a lot of my clients have trouble. They just say, I just eat all day. I'm always hungry. I'm like, and I don't know what to tell them. And
Yeah,
so this could be a piece of the puzzle. How many people actually get their vitamin D tested? I don't know anybody that does that.
doctors won't test it. I've had clients ask their doctor to run it, and the doctor won't even test it. And I know before I started using consumer ways to do it, I had
Yeah.
my doctor would run it, but it would cost me 11 or $1,200. Now, as a consumer, it might be 25, it might be $40. I can't remember, but like I said, you can from direct from Quest, direct from LabCorp, you can go to Ultra Labs, or you can find someone like me. I can order labs for clients as well. I can help put a panel together. So find someone who's in the functional medical world to order it for you if your doctor won't run it for you. Or, like I said, I think you can even order a test on Amazon. You can for certain things. I know like A1C and stuff like that, you can order on Amazon. So you may even be able to order it there. But I just think it's just so important. It's such an important number to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want anyone to run out and just go take a bunch of vitamin D because I have taken higher levels because, like I said, the first time I had it checked, it was 8. My doctor put me on lots of vitamin D. I'm not going to say how much because I don't want anyone to do it. And then I ended up getting over 100. I had like 130 units of vitamin D, which is way too high. And so you can get too much, and it's a fat soluble vitamin, meaning it's going to be stored in your body. You're not going to release it. Like I could take lots of vitamin C. I'd end up having to run to the bathroom if I took too much. But with vitamin D, it can actually become toxic. And so don't take too much vitamin D. Get your levels checked. Make sure you are taking something with vitamin D, and we'll talk about that in a minute about how ways you can get it without taking supplements. But I think that if you're in these certain zones, it's important to at least have some vitamin D and get it checked.
And of course, in the summertime, I like to get out in the sun about 3 times a week for 10 to 15 minutes, which will help you build your vitamin D levels. But for a
Yes.
lot of us, even me right now, we have gray skies for most of the winter.
Hmm.
And so you really need to take it. And it's something that I have not taken seriously because of what I learned at School of Natural Healing. But this new research is making me rethink this.
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe it's a good idea because Dr. Esselstyn, he recommends it. He doesn't do a lot of supplements, but he does recommend vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Yes. And when you think about it, there has been so many things out there telling you to cover your body in sunscreen, wear these clothing, you have UV clothing, things like that to protect you. And if we put all those on, we're not allowing our body to absorb those UV rays to help with the vitamin D. And so you do have to go out there with bare skin. You need short sleeves, not long sleeves, things like that. But it does only take, 10, 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
Dr. Christopher and Dr. Schultz, they would even say, go out, 1 minute one day, 2 minutes the next day, 3 minutes the next day, especially if you're someone, if you have that pale skin and red hair, someone who really gets sun really fast, you want to start low.
Yeah, the trick is to get just enough, but don't let yourself burn.
Right,
So
right. Yes, exactly. But the study that we were looking at, which we'll reference in our show notes, showed that higher dose vitamin D influences myostatin suppression. It helps with leptin signaling, so whether you're full or not full. And then it also helps with building that lean mass. And so not, preventing that muscle wasting. And all this occurs without changing calories. And so, like I said, I tell people stop looking at the numbers. Let's, make sure your body is feeling safe and make sure that your nutrients are being met.
I'm glad you said that because so many people are focused on the number of calories.
Yes.
And that's just so short-sighted because really you need to be focusing on your nutrients, your vitamins, your minerals.
Mhm.
That's the most important thing. If you're low in minerals, your body cannot lose body fat sufficiently. It can't build muscle. It can't regulate all the other things it has to regulate. A lot of people don't even think about minerals.
Right, right. And where do you get your minerals?
Fruits and vegetables.
Yes, yes. Please eat your veggies. You hear you eat your leafy greens? Eat those leafy greens and have green juices, not fruit
Oh
juices.
yeah.
Fruit juices can spike blood sugar, but green juices. You can have fruit in your smoothie if it's not too much, so you get those fibers. But juice greens, that's a great way to do it. If there's a green that you like. I like celery, lemon, and ginger. There's lots of reasons why I juice ginger. Um, just because it's anti everything, and so it's very anti-inflammatory, but it's also antibacterial, antiviral, and helps with so many different things. So that was another side note. I love juicing just celery, lemon, and ginger, and so it's not going to spike my blood sugar, but it's going to provide lots and lots of vitamins and minerals.
Oh yeah, I love celery juice. It tastes good to me. I mean, a lot of
Yes,
people, and I
yeah,
guess it's better. I've never tried it with a lemon and ginger. I'm sure it makes it taste
oh
even
yeah,
better.
it's delicious. Yes, yes. Yes. But when we look at like vitamin D, let's talk about vitamin D deficiency or insufficiency. Vitamin D shows up in muscle symptoms. So weak muscles, it shows up on our blood work as well because it impairs calcium handling in the muscles. It promotes type 2 fiber atrophy. And so we don't want to atrophy, we want to build. And then it also increases the myostatin, like we were talking about, when it's low. And so you can notice, maybe you have weak legs, maybe in your hips, your thighs, maybe even in your shoulders, trouble getting out of chairs, not because you were working out so hard, your arms are sore, or your legs are sore, but because vitamin D is low, your muscles are wasting, having trouble climbing chairs. Maybe you're having muscle pain and fatigue. I know when that's one of the first signs for me of an autoimmune flare. Well, I do take lots of vitamin D, so I don't think mine is technically related to vitamin D, but it can be for some people.
So I like this because a lot of people think when they think muscle, they think you just have to worry about protein. And I'm not saying protein is not important, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of other things important, like vitamin D. It's showing, I mean, this study is pretty much showing that if your vitamin D levels aren't up to par, you're gonna have a hard time building muscle and losing fat. So,
Right, right,
and I have, elderly clients, and one of their main, well, I have one now, her main goal is to not become so weak she can't get out of the chair, she can't get off the toilet. She knows she has friends that are like that now.
right,
And
right.
so I
We
may
have to have
recommend some.
we
Go
have to have
ahead.
muscle strength just to prevent falls.
Oh yeah.
Falling is huge. You fall and break a hip. How many people have you heard of? They fell, they broke a hip, and then they ended up in the hospital, got sick, and died. Right? And
Oh,
so
all the time.
falls are major. And so we want to make sure we're maintaining that muscle to prevent falls and fractures, those broken hips, and muscle wasting and protecting the bones.
Yes, osteoporosis, a lot of women believe that that's inevitable, but it doesn't have to be with
No,
the right lifestyle changes. And you can actually increase your bone mass test. I have a client that's done that, and I talked to other women at the gym, and they're actually increasing their bone mass by strength training
right, right. Yeah, and we can see it
and
on
vitamin
scans.
D.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I do want to reiterate that we're not telling you to go mega dose. It's very important that you find out what your numbers are. If you don't know your numbers, then take, a basic vitamin D supplement um, that is not high dose. And while you're waiting to get it checked, or as a preventive, things like that, don't do any mega dosing because, like I said, that can be very dangerous.
Yeah. I think I can't remember how much Esselstyn recommends, but it's not mega dosing. It might be 600 IUs a day, something like that.
Oh wow, that's pretty low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that then even in the new food guide pyramid, which we talked about in our last episode, But I think
Mhm.
they talked about vitamin D levels and we're talking about increasing the RDA. Right now, the RDA is like 400, and that's definitely not enough. But I think that
Yeah.
they're moving it up to 2,000 units.
Okay.
Yeah. But vitamin D, so vitamin D can affect our weight by redistributing calories toward lean mass instead of storing fat. So, like we said, even with the fat, the leptin signaling, vitamin D helps with that, helping the body make that decision. Do I need to store this for later, or can I use it to build stronger muscles? Because the body wants to protect you, and so it's going to store it for fat later because it can use that very quickly if you're in danger, you're not getting your nutrients met. And so it's not that you're in danger because somebody's holding a gun to you or a tiger is chasing you. It's because you haven't met your nutrients. Like we were saying, under eating. It's going to just keep storing it. It's because it doesn't know that it can use it as muscle because more food's going to be coming and more nutrition is going to be coming. That's why we need to make sure we're eating a plant-based diet that's high in vitamins and minerals and making sure that we're eating enough calories to meet our nutrient needs as well. And making sure that it's nutrient dense. So look up Dr. Furman, look up the G bombs. That's what we both are strongly tied to. Eating the rainbow, variety of foods, and things like that. And making sure you're checking your vitamin D and meeting your vitamin D because if you're low in vitamin D, that's associated with higher fat, lower leptin sensitivity, so you're not feeling full, and that high myostatin, which is going to create a cycle of breaking down the muscles, making you feel hungry later, storing more fat, and you see how we get stuck in this cycle. But when you're checking your blood, so a lot of the research says you want to make sure it's above 30. The research that I use in my functional medicine world is you want it between 50 and 80, or maybe even 70 to 80, getting it in that nice tight range. But once again, this is for educational purposes. Discuss this with your own provider, do your own research.
Yes, this is kind of exciting research for me because I'm just sitting here thinking about my clients. I'm always hungry, and maybe they're low in vitamin D. My wife, she's very low in it. We went to a guy in town that tested her; she was low, and
Yeah.
now I'm wondering about my own levels. Like, I think that it seems like it's something you need to take. Also, there are certain foods too. Like, we're plant-based eaters.
Mhm.
Some of the mushrooms, especially ones that have been exposed to UV light, they're a good source of vitamin D.
Yes, yeah, and you can even put them in the sun. You want to turn them
Okay.
over so the gills are facing the sun, the bottom's facing the sun. So it will soak up that. When you're shopping for mushrooms, the way I learned it was the brown ones have been exposed to the sun. The white ones have been grown indoors. And so we want to make sure they're exposed to the sun. But when you buy your mushrooms, stick them out there in the sun for about 15 minutes, just like you put your own skin out there and then chop and cook them, and then they'll have more vitamin D.
Yeah, and then there's some more exotic. I think it was duckweed, but that's kind of
Yes, I've
exotic.
seen lots on that. Yeah, I don't even know I've never tried it, and I don't
Me
even know where
either.
to buy it. But yeah, I saw that as well.
So it was probably easier just to get a supplement, but
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so we're not talking about using this as a form of building muscle. We're talking about this to help with your metabolic health, which helps with metabolic health is related to your heart. It's related to your weight. It's related to your liver. It's related to your whole health. And so it's so, so important to make sure that you are maintaining that or improving your metabolic health because right now, 93% of the US is metabolically unwell. So go get your vitamin D checked. Any other closing words before we wrap this up?
no, well, now after I say this research, I think I'm gonna start recommending people get their vitamin D tested. I didn't know it's such a big deal, and they didn't either until this is very new right here. I think it came out this year,
Hmm.
and we're
Yeah,
only
got
like not
everything.
even a month into the year, so.
Hmm. Right, right. Yeah, excellent. I'm so glad that you shared this with me. Yeah, so if you'd like to find out more about Dan, go to danthenaturalman.com, or you can find out more about me at Holistic Jen. That's with a W. I spell holistic WH. holisticgen.com. We both work with clients one-on-one. He also works with people in the gym for fitness training. I strictly work online at the moment. Unless you live local to me, I can work with you local in person in some cases. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share your comments. What did you agree with? What did you not agree with? What would you like to learn about next time? Thank you for listening, and we will see you again next week.